Hey, beautiful souls. Welcome to the relaunch of the Her Story official podcast. I'm your host, Nat, and this is a safe, empowering space where we talk real faith, healing, and God's heart for you as a woman. Every week, we'll dive into honest stories, lessons, and prayers to help you grow, feel seen, and embrace new beginnings. Disclaimer, I'm not a pastor, a theologian, or a trained professional. I'm simply a believer walking this faith journey, experiencing God, learning as I go, and sharing my heart with you. I hope that these honest conversations encourage you to draw closer to God and grow alongside me.
Hello. First, I would like to thank you for watching and joining today. Today, I'm excited to talk to you about my first chapter of my book. My book is No Pretty Tears, and so I will most definitely be dabbing into the first chapter of the book here. But before we get started here, I wanted to kind of first just introduce myself for those of you who do not know me. My name is Nat Bashel, and I am an author. I am a believer. I am a founder of a nonprofit organization. And writing is one of my ways I live out my faith, using my words most definitely to inspire and uplift and encourage others to grow closer to God. Every story I believe I tell is shaped by my love for Christ and for God, and my passion for sharing messages of hope. So as the founder of a nonprofit organization, Somebody Who Cares Destiny Empowerment Center, which is to empower youth and families, I believe in putting my faith into action. Through this work, I strive to make meaningful differences in my community, guided by compassion, which is so important, integrity, and a desire to help others embrace their God-given purpose. So I discovered, just kind of exploring, I'm going to get a little bit into it. I've discovered, just in exploring the story of Hannah in 1 Samuel chapter 1, that Hannah was in the waiting room. So as I really begin to kind of like read over that chapter, just kind of really get it in my spirit, I noticed that again, that Hannah was in the waiting room, just like many of us are in the waiting room. I can attest to that I know that I am in the waiting room. So you may be asking me, what is the waiting room? I'm glad you're asking me that. What is the waiting room? So the waiting room is a spiritual season where I believe that God is intentionally delaying what we want so he can prepare and refine our character. That's right. He has us in this waiting room. So it's a delay. We don't like it, so that he can prepare and refine our character. So it's not wasted time. Some of us may be feeling like, oh my God, it's not wasted time. Okay. It's a place of pruning, and removing unhealthy motives and ensuring that our desires align with his purpose. Just like Hannah, she waited for a long time for a child with a divine. So that child that she waited for was a child with a divine calling. Okay. The waiting room is where we're shaped, we're molded, we're tested and mature before stepping into the blessings or the responsibilities that God has for us. And I don't mind staying in this waiting room. Yeah, I know it may not feel good, but as believers, many of us struggle with the waiting room. Yes, I do. I'm just saying, I'm being honest, not realizing that it's actually a vital season in our lives. Because we know that God uses this time to shape our character, to prune our hearts, and align our desires with his greater purpose. Just like Hannah, who longed for a child, but she had to wait a long time. Okay, she had to wait a long time. So God was preparing her to give birth to a son who would impact a nation. Okay, Hannah thought her pain was about others and their taunts. Her husband's wives that had children, and she couldn't have none. She was barren, and the wife her name is Penna. Yeah, she was taunting Hannah. She was like teasing her. She was just flaunting the baby, her child and things of that nature. It was kind of almost like today's Facebook, but we're going to get into that in a minute. But God was carefully preparing her heart for a purposeful child, okay? Not one born from selfish motives or frustration. Because many of us want things and it's born out of frustration, it's born out of selfishness. So in the same way, God might be holding back some of our own desires. Yes. A marriage, maybe many of you have been praying to be married. Maybe that business that you've been praying about for a very long time, to grow it or even to start the business, and just seem like it ain't happening. Maybe that house you've been looking for to buy, and it seemed like you just can't seem to get that house, your dream home, or a breakthrough. So until we truly, 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 when I say, I can't express this enough, until we truly understand why we want them. That's a question that I want you to ask yourself. Why do you want those things that you have been praying for a very long time, and it seems like your prayers have been falling on deaf ears? Why do you want them? It's easy to focus on what we lack instead of asking deeper questions. Will this advance God's kingdom? So that's a question that you need to be asking, and me, myself as well. What we've been praying for, what we've been praying for, is it to advance God's kingdom, or is it for our own selfish motives? So are we pursuing this for the right reasons? Are we ready for it? That's the question that we need to ask. Are we ready for it? If we rush the process, it's like pulling the cake out of the oven too early, it would never serve its purpose. So the child that Hannah had, it wasn't for her own self motive, it was to serve a purpose. Yes. So waiting may be hard. Yes, it is. Waiting may be very, very hard, but it's in this room that our character is refined. So when we finally receive what we've been praying for, we'll be ready to steward it well, okay? So, for years, I'm going to be honest, I felt like my prayers were hitting the wall, just like Hannah's prayer. She felt like her prayers was hitting the wall. She was praying day in, day out, and nothing wasn't happening, that she wasn't bringing forth that child. Every night I'll ask God for the same things. God, bless me with this, bless me with a business that's going to just blow up. Bless me with some grant funding that's just going to just set the organization, just set it off. Lord, bless me, bless my family, bless my future. I had a lot of things I was praying for, and it felt like nothing was moving. Have you ever felt like that? Have you ever just been praying about, I'm talking about sincere prayer. You've been praying and it's like, you just keep hitting the wall, like nothing is happening. Every year, other people seem to get their breakthrough. And it's kind of why I was still waiting. I, see other people being blessed, and I was frustrated. Have you ever been frustrated? I know you have. I was tired, okay? And if I'm honest, my prayers were more about my pain than my purpose. Yes. My prayers were about my pain than my purpose. That's exactly what this chapter 1 talks about in my book, No Pretty Prayers. The wrong reason is about. The wrong reason. That's what this is about. The first chapter is the wrong reason. So we want things because we're exhausted. We're exhausted. We want them because we're sick of feeling overlooked. We want them because we see everyone else winning. And you have every right to want those things. Yes. And it makes sense. Yes, it does. It's human. Even Hannah in the Bible, she cried out for a child, not just because she wanted a child, but because she was taunted and she was hurting. Her prayers weren't wrong, but they weren't yet aligned with what God was doing. So that's what this chapter helped me realize in my own book. I'm not just writing this book just for the outside. This book is for me as well. So what I realized, it helped me realize that my prayers sounded good, but my motives, they weren't right. So yeah, I was praying like, God, help me. I want to be blessed. I want to come off this job, and those prayers are valid. Not saying those prayers are wrong, but what are your motives when you're praying? All right. So that's what this chapter helped me realize. Again, I was praying out of lack, like many of you. You're praying out of lack instead of praying out of purpose. Okay. So there's a verse that hit me so hard, which was James 4:3. It said, "You ask and do not receive because you ask with wrong motives." That was me. And I know it may be many of you as well. I was crying. I was frustrated, but focus on my own relief more than God's plan. So I was focused more on my relief because I want to get out of this situation. I'm tired of being in this situation. And so I was praying with the wrong intent. And then came the shift, which the shift is continually going on in my life. But when Hannah finally changed her heart and said, "God, if you give me this son, I'll give him back to you," everything changed. Okay. So that prayer wasn't about escaping pain anymore. Because, yes, she was praying from a different position at the beginning because her husband's wife was taunting her. She was teasing her. She was praying out of anguish. She was praying out. She was angry. She was upset that she could never have a child. And her husband, wives are having children. And she's like, "What's going on?" And her husband did ask her, like, "Why are you so sad? Why are you so down? You have me." But, he didn't understand. So, and that's what this chapter is all about. It asks you and me some hard questions. Okay. Do my prayers bless anyone besides me? So when you are praying, do your prayers bless anyone besides yourself? I had to ask myself that too, and I'm continually asking myself, do they glorify God or just make you feel comfortable? Would you be able to store what you are asking God for? Would you be able to really steward that thing? So this chapter reminds us that sometimes the reason God hasn't answered yet isn't because he's holding back. It's because he's preparing us. Yes, he's refining our hearts so that when we do receive, we can give it back to him, okay? With the right spirit. And that's what I want for myself. And I know many of you all want that as well. And that's what I want for you as well. So if you've been frustrated like I was, and like I'm coming out, God is working with my heart. He's dealing with me like Hannah was. Hannah was frustrated as well. So this chapter is a gentle but powerful invitation to come to God one more time. Honestly, come to him honestly, surrender, and ready for your motives to change so your prayers can finally align with his plan. So that's where the real breakthrough begins. So chapter 1, I'm going to have the link to where you can get the book, No Pretty Prayers, and it's going to really dive into it. But I'm going to come back on. We're going to really be talking about more of this. I really want to just really get into this because God is, he wants to bless us. He really wants to bless us, but he knows us. He knows us more than we know ourselves. And so he knows our beginning to our end. So he knows our thoughts, so we can really want something and it's not wrong with that, but he sees the real intent behind what we're asking him for. And if it's not aligned, well, you know how sometimes we use that scripture, say, God will give us the desires of our heart. Yes, he will, but it has to line up with his purpose. It has to be purposeful. So whatever we're believing God for, but we've been praying, to God for, it has to be purposeful prayers. Things that we want has to be where it has to line up with his word, and it has to be advance his kingdom. Yeah, he wants to have good things for our family. It's not wrong with having a nice home, or having a nice vehicle, having a husband, or having children, and having all of those. Those are great things. He said he come to bless us. He wants to bless us. But the thing about it is that we have to make sure our motives are lined up with his word. Like we're coming and we have a sincere heart, and we know that what we want is not just because we want it all to ourselves. And then, you know what? I'm also learning also that Facebook is really it's not a good thing when you're believing God for something and you're going to him. Facebook is not the place to really be on, kind of like, because everybody is flaunting. They're flaunting things on Facebook, and it's not the real reality if you really get down and deep into it. But everybody's flaunting their vacations. They're flaunting their husbands. They're flaunting their wives. They're flaunting their children. They're flaunting their businesses. They're flaunting everything. Facebook, I remember a pastor of mine said once that Facebook should have been called Flash Book. Flash Book, because it ain't nothing but flash, going straight on down Facebook. Everybody wants to be somebody. Everybody wants to show something. And so you can get entangled in that when you're believing God for something, you're going to him. You can be saying, well, God, I see this person is being blessed. God doesn't want us to envy, and he doesn't want us to compare ourselves to others, because we don't know the things they've gone to get the things they have. We don't know if it's even in integrity. Some of the stuff they're getting or doing, we don't know if they're even doing that, with integrity. So we can't compare ourselves to what we see on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or wherever it may be, because that's when we can find ourselves really in a bad place. And then our motives, we're going to God. I want a house because the Jones just bought a house. They just bought a house on the lake. And so then you start getting yourself, almost kind of like this Abraham and Sarah story when she wanted a child so bad that she had her husband, Abraham, to go sleep with the maid servant because she wanted a child. So the maid servant had the child because she went ahead of God. God said he would bless her with a child, but it was for that child would be birthed for a purpose. But she went ahead of God. And a lot of times we are going ahead of God, trying to make things happen on our own dime. And then we fall in and we regretting those things later. So, I mean, if anything that you haven't heard from me today, I just hope you heard, the waiting room is not a bad place. So embrace it. Embrace the waiting room, okay? And let God work on you. Work on, sometimes we're not truthful with ourselves. We think that we got it all together. And I'm being honest, I don't have it all together. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I do. I need God to continue to work on my heart, on my character, just everything. So I'm saying to you today, be honest with yourself. While you're in this waiting room, allow God to do what he's doing. He's doing a good thing in you, but you got to allow him to do it while you're in this waiting process. And it's okay to wait, to be in the waiting room, okay? So God bless you. Thank you for watching. I'm going to be coming on more, and we're going to be getting down into this word, and I'm going to be encouraging, and not just only encouraging others, but I'm going to be encouraging myself as well as we go through this journey of being, blessed by God and just knowing that he has a purpose for our lives. He come to give us a hope and a future. And some of us believe that we do not have a hope or a future because we feel like nothing is happening. Nothing is happening good in our lives. Well, some things is happening, but not the things that we've been praying for. So God bless and be safe.